Hey everybody, I'm Alan with Bricks and Blocks Gaming, and in this video I'm going to be taking a look at Five Parsecs From Home, 3rd edition, written by Ivan Sorensen and published by Modifius Entertainment. I'll be explaining the basics about what this game is, then I'll be creating the crew I'll be using for my campaign video series. On this channel, I play all my games using Lego and other toy bricks, and while my target audience is adults, I keep all my language family friendly and ask for comments to do so as well. The game Five Parsecs From Home is a solo or co-op tabletop miniatures adventure wargame set in a futuristic sci-fi galaxy. In it, you control a small crew of about 4 to 8 figures that face off against about 3 to 9 enemies per battle. The game is miniatures agnostic, meaning players are encouraged to use whatever miniatures they want, which is perfect for using Lego. But you can also use traditional metal or plastic miniatures, tokens from other games, folded cardstock, or whatever you want. To play, you'll need about 20 figures, a table that's 2 feet by 2 feet or slightly larger, some 6-sided and 10-sided dice, a tape measure, the Five Parsecs From Home book, and you'll be ready to play. A good imagination is also beneficial, as much of Five Parsecs From Home is procedurally driven, relying on a series of tables that are rolled on to generate crew members, events and story elements, determine enemies, identify loot and rewards, and a number of other things. As players roll on these tables, they can use their imagination to develop the story behind why the results are happening, and keep it in their head, write it in a journal to look back on later, or take videos to share their adventures on YouTube. The game is designed to be played as a campaign of connected battles, or turns as they're called, and each turn consists of both an in-battle sequence, where the action happens, and out-of-battle sequence that shapes the story. So now we'll head over to the tabletop and roll up my crew. The first part of creating your crew is to decide how large of a starting crew you want. You can always recruit more members into your crew later on, but how many you choose at the start will determine how many characters you can bring into each battle throughout the whole campaign, and will also determine how many enemies you attract, as the smaller crew that you've got going into different scenarios will attract less enemies. For my campaign, I've decided to have 5 crew members to start with, just to keep my battles a little shorter and a little more manageable for video. The book gives a few options for how to generate your starting crew, and I've decided to go with the full random option to just see what ends up happening. To do this, you start out by rolling up each member's species, and then you get to roll up backgrounds and motivations and job classes for each of the characters. Each of these results will provide different penalties or benefits to the characters, which can affect their stats, the equipment that they carry, currency, in this game credits that they bring along to the crew, and a number of other things. And any results that require rolling on an additional table, I'll roll up at the end after I've created all my characters so I can do all those extra rolls together. And I'll add that players are allowed to pool all of their equipment together and then distribute them how they want. However, some players might find it fun to keep the specific equipment with the character that got it from their background, just to help to solidify them according to what happens to roll randomly. So let's get to the bricks and blocks of creating my crew. So the first thing we'll do is roll up the species of our first character. On a D100, that is an 8, which gives us a baseline human. Humans are the most common species you'll find, and they've got a pretty vanilla set of stats. The reactions determine how quickly they can react in battle. Speed is how much they can move. Combat skill is used for shooting and attacking in melee. Toughness is how well they can defend against attacks, and savvy determines kind of their wit, their willpower, their creativeness on the battlefield or off the battlefield. So next we roll up this human's background, and we get a 66. So taking a look at this table, a 66 means they came from a research outpost. They get +1 savvy and +1 gadget that we'll roll up later. Next, we'll roll up their motivation, which explains kind of why they're out here adventuring. 10. And they're here for fame, which gets them +1 story point, which I'll explain later. And then last for this character, we'll roll up their class, what kind of job they've been doing, a 54. So up until this time, this character was part of a starship crew, giving him another +1 to his savvy. So based on what I just rolled up, this character might end up being my tech officer or the engineer on my ship, something like that. But let's roll character number 2. For its species, we rolled a 13, which is another baseline human. For his background, a 16. And he was part of a mining colony, which gives him +1 toughness, which will help him survive in combat. His motivation for being here, 20. Is just simply to survive, and he's got another +1 to his toughness. I think I'm creating the bruiser of the team right here. And for his class, interesting, he's a special agent, which gives him +1 reactions, a patron, which I'll explain later. They basically help them get jobs, and another character coming along with a gadget. I'm hoping I get at least one character that's not just a human. We'll see what my third guy is. 18. Well, that's another human. This guy's background, he was in a subjugated colony on an alien world. Another gadget. He's joined this crew because of 55. He's interested in discovery. +1 savvy and +1 gear. And what kind of class is this guy? 33. And that could be interesting. Primitive. I guess that they didn't have much technology or anything in this alien colony, or maybe he was just serving as manual labor for the aliens. But he gets +1 speed and +1 low-tech weapon. So I've got 2 characters left, and I've got just humans so far. And I've decided if I don't get a alien or a bot on this next roll, then on my last roll, I'm going to for sure get one of those, just because I want to try out one of those just to create some variety in my story. So let's see if we get a bot or alien in this roll. 37. So that is another baseline human. And as far as his background, 97, a high one. A wasteland nomad, +1 to his reactions and +1 low-tech weapon. His motivation is 51. So he is also interested in discovery, +1 savvy, +1 gear. And his class is a 27. Nice, a mercenary. Finally some combat bonuses, +1 combat and +1 military weapon. So for this last character, I'm going to go ahead and roll on the species table. And if it gets me the result of another human, then what I'm going to do is if I get an odd number, I'm going to roll on the primary alien table, and if I get an even number, then it's going to be a bot. 7. So since that would get me another human, but it was an odd number, I'm going to go ahead and roll on the primary alien table and see what I get there. 70. 70 is a precursor. The precursors are kind of like space elves. They've been around for a long time. It says they've been traveling the galaxies since the time when most other species were still primitive. So this could be an interesting character. Taking a quick look at their stats, they're quicker than humans, but they're not as tough, with only 2 toughness. We'll roll up this character's background, 65. And we have another character from a research outpost, another savvy bonus, and another gadget. For their motivation, 6. Okay, apparently this precursor is here just for some money, for wealth. They start with 1d6 bonus credits, which I'll roll up later. And for their class, 13. Well, I guess this makes sense. Their job is a scientist, which goes well with the research facility they were in. Another savvy bonus and another gadget. Okay, I've got my 5 characters made, and now as well as the stuff that they rolled up in their backgrounds and things, they get some other starting equipment. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at what they get. So they gain 3 additional rolls on the military weapons table. However, for each point of savvy that one of my characters got, I can upgrade one of these to a high-tech weapon. I think I got 5 bonuses to savvy, so I can upgrade all of these to high-tech weapons. I also get 3 low-tech weapons, 1 more gear, and another gadget. Let's go and roll the military weapons times 3. We've got 67. And that was rolling on the high-tech weapons instead of the military. And that gets me a blast pistol. Next high-tech weapon, 28, is a hand laser. And 96 is a glare sword, which could be handy if I decide I want any of my guys to be melee fighters. And now I'll roll up 3 low-tech weapons. 96 is a brutal melee weapon, not quite as good as my glare sword. 72 is a shotgun, which are pretty powerful. And a 4, which is a lowly handgun. And while I'm rolling up weapons, I'm going to go ahead and roll up the items that I found during character creation. So I've got 2 more low-tech weapons. First is a 67, which is another shotgun. And 35, which is a scrap pistol. I rolled up 1 military weapon. 62, ooh, that'll be nice, an auto rifle. And the next roll is for gear. I'm going to go ahead and roll the 1 gear that every crew gets, plus the 2 that my crew members are starting with. 98, that is a tracker sight. I'm not sure what all of these gear do, but we'll find out later. Next is 42, a fake ID. That could be handy. And 55, a grapple launcher. And I rolled up 5 gadgets plus the 1 that I start with, so I'll roll up 6 of these. 77, a snooper bot. 62, a screen generator. I think that's a defensive item. 70, a shock attachment. That can be added to a weapon. 53, a repair bot. 57, a scanner bot. And for my last gadget, 92, stealth gear. Nice, some more defensive equipment. And the last thing that my crew members get here is some credits. They get 1 credit per crew member. And my precursor came along with 1d6 credits from their background, and they brought along 3 more, for a total of 8 credits for the team. The next thing we need to figure out is what kind of ship this crew is flying around in. There's a few things involved with each kind of ship. There's different debt that each of them start with, as far as how much we need to pay back to actually own this ship outright. Each ship has hull points, which indicates how much damage they can sustain, and some of the ships have some special traits. We'll roll a D100 to see what kind of ship we get. 29. Wow, so 29 is just simply an upgraded shuttle. 1d6 plus 10 debt, so not much, with a hull of 20, so can't take much damage, but has no special traits. And its debt of 1d6 plus 10 credits is a total of 15 credits due. And then the last thing we need to do is roll up some flavor detail, which describes how this crew came together. 21. Being in trouble with the authorities. And now we're going to roll to see how they're characterized. 60. Somewhat honorable bandits. Alright, so I believe that's everything for getting my crew put together. So now I'm going to take all this information. I'm going to pick out some Lego figures that I think will represent these different characters and equip them with some different weapons based on what I rolled up, so we can get the whole crew lined up. And in the next video, I'll introduce this team and how their backgrounds and everything will work together to form a cohesive story as to why they're together and what they're mutually trying to accomplish in my 5 Parsecs From Home campaign Turn 1 battle, which will be linked right up here once it's available. Let me know in the comments if there's any rules I missed, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the battles as they release. I'm Alan with Bricks and Blocks Gaming. Thank you for watching, and play well.